Welcome everyone, and thanks so much for joining today's AI Learning Pathways webinar on resources, training, and community. So my name is Aditri, and I'm the Sector Knowledge and Insights Advisor at ACFID, and I'll just be helping to chair today's session. So first, I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that I'm dialing in from today, which are the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people, and I pay my respects to elders both past and present. Please feel free to share in the chat as well the lands you're joining from today. So just a few quick housekeeping notes before we dive in. Today's session will run for approximately 45 minutes and will be split into kind of two parts. So for the bulk of it, we'll get to hear from Info Exchange about their new AI resource hub and platform. And then towards the end half, I, alongside some of the ACFID staff, will just share some quick updates on upcoming opportunities and initiatives related to AI. So throughout the session, please feel free to pop your questions into the chat at any time. I and Anne will make sure to monitor this, and we'll also have time for you to directly ask questions at the end of each section. Also, just a friendly reminder to stay on mute unless you're speaking, and just that this webinar is being recorded, and the slides alongside the recording will be shared afterwards. So if you'd prefer not to be recorded, now would be the time to turn off your camera. So let's get started. So we're delighted to have Sophie from Info Exchange with us today. She'll be walking us through the new AI resource hub and platform designed for not-for-profits. So I know many of our members are already using the platform, so it's great to have this opportunity to learn more and to ask questions to her directly. So just a little bit about Sophie. Sophie discovered her passion for non-profit technology while working in India with an international NGO focused on improving educational outcomes through the innovative use of technology. With a background in business and finance management, she's since led digital transformation programs across various organizations in Australia to enhance impact and simplify processes. And as the digital transformation manager at Info Exchange, Sophie is passionate about helping non-for-profits use digital technologies effectively to amplify their impact. So I'll now hand over to Sophie to talk us through this fantastic resource.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And thank you for inviting us today. Just sharing my screen, which you should all be able to see now. It's always a joy to share a bit about what we're doing at Info Exchange and help each of you on your own digital and AI journeys. Before I jump in, I'd also like to acknowledge that the traditional owners of the lands that we're all joining on. I am on the beautiful Wurundjeri land located next to the Yarra River, and would like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So we're going to go a little bit into the overview of Info Exchange, and then look furthermore into what the AI adoption journey looks like for non-for-profits, and then going into how Info Exchange can help. Now it says questions at the end, but please pop your questions in the chat or come off mute. Happy to answer questions as we go, so that we keep the sort of momentum going and can answer any questions. So Info Exchange has been around for 35 years, and we've done a range of different things to support the sector across Australia and more broadly across the Asia Pacific region in the use of technology for social impact. So we have a client management system used by a range of homelessness services across Australia, but we also do discounted products through our Connecting Up platform, and have what we call the Digital Transformation Hub, where we have resources, advisory services and training to support the sector in their technology use. So there's some sort of different ways that we support there, but in sum, Info Exchange does a range of different things, but really we're here to support and uplift through the use of technology. Now, each year we do a survey of the sector to understand technology usage, opportunities, and challenges that face the sector. Now, you can go read the full report released sort of late last year, but there's 3 or 4 key stats that I really want to speak to start this AI conversation journey in around what people are using. And there's a big variety of platforms being used, with the most common being ChatGPT at the launch of this report. And that 76% of staff are using AI already in some capacity. So AI usage is, we're seeing it quite significantly at that staff and volunteer and field officer usage to improve their day-to-day work. Yet only 42% of organisations say AI is not a priority for their organisation. And I recognise that there is a range of different priorities that we each face, but technology and AI, if we don't have a priority and our staff are still going off and using it, that's quite a clear discrepancy between the two. And when we get further concern is around only 12% of organisations having an AI policy, guideline, or framework in place to support staff in their AI usage. Now, before we get into sort of those 2 latest stats and thinking about how we can uplift that, I want to talk to this 76% of how are organisations using AI, what are we seeing, and what is sort of those inspiring pieces that we could pick up and go, okay, this could give us ideas for AI usage in our own organisation. And I'm going to start really simple with one of our own. So talking about how at Info Exchange, we use Notebook LM to take all of our training information that we have over the last couple of years, and we popped it all into Notebook LM. And that's a resource for us to call on. It helps us create content that aligns with our previous messaging. It helps us identify gaps, and it helps us think about where we can create new content to better support the sector. So it's a really nice, simple application. Notebook LM is part of your Google Workspace that you can call on to create and support your sort of information, knowledge, and insight gathering within your organization. So really simple. The next level up is going to an organization called cool.org. And what they've done is they've taken their website, which has a wealth of training knowledge, and it's got a wealth for teachers to be able to call on and draw insights. And then what they've done is they've been able to use machine learning to adapt training content based on state-based curriculum. So what's really interesting is how they're using AI to call on existing frameworks to adapt the information they have. So that's something to consider. It's not so much about what they're doing, but how their application of AI is coming to take their existing content and sort of expand on those frameworks. Another one that I want to talk to is around the use of chatbots, especially where there's lots of information out there. So Alcohol and Drug Foundation have built a chatbot where they had a really lengthy, in-depth website with a wealth of information, but users were struggling to grapple through it and get the right advice they needed in that moment. So that's where Alcohol and Drug Foundation have gone, okay, let's use AI to create a solution that users can inquire, ask questions to gather that insight and the answers that they're looking for. And we're seeing that in many different ways, that sort of chatbot usage. But what I find really interesting and why I talk about Alcohol and Drug Foundation is that they are working with really sensitive information that needs to give the right advice and put people on the right path. And so they had to do a lot of work around the accuracy of the information provided and around the security as well. So they've even to the point where when they initially went live, they took it back down because they weren't happy with the success rate. So comparing to some of those earlier applications we talked about, this takes a lot of time to get right, but when it gets right, we're really helping those users gain that information. Oops. The next one is an app that's been built in Hong Kong for sorry, um, for women that may be experiencing domestic violence, um, that they can have this app sitting on their phone without an issue, and then it will notify through voice recognition whether a situation's escalating. And then we'll follow the emergency contacts that's needed to escalate accordingly. Now, this one's quite a revolutionary use of AI. They have completely changed how they engage with the people that they are working with. But why this one's a really interesting one is they're using voice. And they're using voice to empower the individual that may be experiencing that violence to have their own autonomy in escalation. And the second part is that this is available in Cantonese and English. So they're using different languages within this application. So it's a really interesting one that if you're starting to think about sort of more complex applications, this is something I'd recommend going and having a look at. Now, I've spoken about a broad range just then around different AI usages. Now, what I find interesting about this last one is actually going, okay, there's a lot out there. Maybe we can work together. And that's what Humanitech Lab have done is they've worked with Cara Technologies who had created for ASL, so American Sign Language, they had created an avatar that could take text and then create the videos of ASL. Well, Humanitech went, well, we want that for Ausland. Rather than us recreating the wheel, why don't we collaborate together and build and grow from there? And so that's why I really like talking about this one and going, okay, we've talked about a range of different AI usages, but maybe we could tap on what they're doing and we can work in our context and share that knowledge, or we can work together to build different solutions. So with all of that in mind, you're probably going, that's really great, but I've got a acquittal that's due, I've got a report that's due. I'm really not thinking about those complex applications. And nor do we expect you necessarily to be, because the AI adoption journey is not this lovely quick fix solution. Rather, it's actually part of your digital transformation journey. And it is really an exploratory path as well. So when we talk about AI, we're actually talking about all of your areas of technology. And we're also talking about how your organization resources technology, how you budget for your technology, what your staff skills are like, and what your leadership's and board's appetite with AI looks like. So we're really thinking about each of those pieces as we go, because AI is really that capstone to your digital transformation. So with that in mind, we talk about the AI adoption journey in 3 key areas. We talk about it in terms of your technology fundamentals. So we think about what platforms are you using to capture your data? What does your cybersecurity look like? Are you in Microsoft or are you in Google Workspace? We're asking those questions because that really helps us understand where AI can come into your technology environment and at what stage your technology environment is at as well. So that is a key piece in your adoption journey. The second area is your organizational readiness for AI. So what has the AI conversation look like in your organization to date? Is it where we know that we've got staff sort of playing with it a bit, but we've got other priorities? Is that sort of 42% right at the beginning of the call? Or are we starting to see a policy in place and starting to empower staff to trial in safe environments? And we'll get to that a little bit more in a moment. Or are we a fully adaptive AI organisation? Now, if you're at that stage, come talk to us. We'd love to do a case study. But we very much recognise that earlier stage, and that really is where the majority of organisations are at. And then that third pillar there is around exploring AI solutions. So that's where we start going into some of those examples we talked about earlier, where really you can dive into your machine learning or to your app development and those kinds of things. So with that, I've tapped on a couple of things that we recommend you explore and look at further. And within that technology fundamentals piece, we recommend having 3 key things in place. Do you have an IT strategy or a digital transformation plan guiding your technology that is being endorsed by your leadership or your board so that technology is a conversation at all levels across the organisation? Do you have an IT budget that's covering an IT maintenance plan and your digital projects? So thinking about how the organisation resources technology and technology development. And finally, I think I will slide this into everything when I talk about technology is, do you have your cybersecurity policies and protections in place within your organisation? Because that comes really pivotal to setting up your organisation. Now, the second area is around organisational readiness for AI. So do you have an AI policy or guideline in place? And the reason we talk about this quite a bit is that it's not so much about those stringent structure of how AI is used. It's more around giving guardrails for staff. So what can they use and what can they not use? What are the appetite for risk in that AI usage? We were talking this morning about AI transcription tools that join in the meetings. And what is your organizational position in that data storage of that information, especially where we may be talking to partners or direct to community members in which we're housing their sensitive information. So we need to be really careful as an organization. What are we enabling staff to use and what are we saying they cannot use? And thereby that's empowering your staff to trial and play. And that's where staff training comes second in that step. So what training are you providing to yourself? And we're here to help in that space. But what training are you enabling staff? And that can really be in free AI tools as you find the use cases and justification for the spend. And then that final point there is that optimization and innovation is valued in the organization. So that's really around that there is interest in the organization to improve processes and to consider how AI can come into those organization processes and infrastructure. And that's what that starts to look like within the organization. And with each of those pieces, we see this as a really strong position to be able to start exploring those more complex AI solutions. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go and go ahead and you might have a project or a team running ahead with AI in one specific problem or solution. But I would be careful to also come back and check these spaces because especially around your governance in AI usage, there needs to be an organizational position to ensure that you're doing right by your staff, by your volunteers, but also by the communities and the users of that platform. Now, with staff training, we recognize that there is lots of different appetite to AI usage across the organization. And with that in mind, we have created what we call our AI learning personas. Because if we try and talk to everyone in one way about AI usage, we're going to have the people that are going to completely disengage, but we're also going to have the people run off and leverage. So with this in mind, we have created these so that we create training content that is relatable, but I think it's also important to recognize within your organization that there is different engagement with AI, and we need to take everyone on that journey together. So we start with our skeptics. And when we talk about skepticism with AI, that's a positive thing. We need a level of skepticism with AI usage. However, it can hold people back from exploring what AI can help them with. So we need to be able to talk with them about what are the concerns they have with AI usage and how can we take them on the journey together. Secondly, we have our experimenter. So they are already starting to leverage AI in their day-to-day work. They may have Copilot chat open and they're asking questions or getting ideas on how to best answer that email or something like that. They're using it at that individual level to increase their productivity. Then at that implementer level, they are going, okay, how they might be a program manager, they might be an IT manager, and they will be going, okay, how could we change our services or our products or how we're working to include AI within that? And they will be thinking about how they procure AI, and they'll be thinking about how they can deliver projects that leverage AI. And then finally, we have our influencer. So they are leaders within the organization leading the AI journey. This might be yourself in the room, you might recognize with another one as well, but the influencer is really driving that adoption. Now, we do recognize that the AI influencer may not necessarily be a executive or formalized leader in the organization, but they may be in the position where they need to take the organization on the AI adoption journey. So when we talk about AI, we need to think about everyone and how we bring everyone together and how thereby we can improve on that AI adoption pathway. So with this in mind, how we can help. So Info Exchange has very kindly received funding from multiple tech and philanthropic organisations to be able to build AI capability within the non-profit sector across Australia, but more broadly across the APAC region as well. And how we're doing that is firstly, we have our AI learning persona quiz to help talk through each of those personas and be able to create tailored training programs for each of your individual staff. And with that, they will get access to guides, resources, case studies, and live webinars similar to what we're on here, as well as self-paced learning to build their AI skills. They will also have the opportunity to talk to like-minded non-for-profit staff in how they're leveraging AI and how they can use it within their organisation. And additionally, there will be access to free consulting and advisory services to help you on that journey, which we'll go through in a minute. Now, one of the key pieces that we've spoken about, and I've skimmed a bit throughout each of these pieces, is our AI policy. So we have our AI policy here, and I'll drop it in the chat as well in a moment. And this is a template created by PwC, which you can use to kickstart your AI adoption journey and adapt that for your organisation to take to your executive or board to get those guardrails in place for your staff. And you can see there we've got kind of the purposes that sits there, but it's really those guardrails to protect your staff and enable them to play and promote the use of AI. So now I'm going to quickly show you around the community, and I will go back to my here. And this is really where you can come in And you can see here, you can come and chat with your peers, create your learning journeys, and book a consult with us. So now I'm logged in. So I've done my quiz and I've got my learning journey. So as you can see here, as I scroll down, I've got a range of conversations going on, as well as different webinars that I can join, case studies, training that I can go off and do there as well. Thank you, Anne, for popping that in the chat. And you can see there we've got training there that staff can go off and do. And we've got our forums where they can come and talk to other organisations in how they're using AI, and then come and book a consult with us, which I'll come to in a moment. So, and that was that screenshot earlier. So in terms of those free adoption opportunities that I spoke about earlier, we have two key offerings that we're supporting organisations with. And we have these two opportunities because we recognise that everyone's at different stages in that adoption journey and looking for different things as well. So the first one that we offer is what we call our AI NFP readiness assessment, where we will, over a three-part engagement, go through your technology environment, your organisational readiness for AI, and opportunities where the organisation can leverage AI to help you create an AI roadmap and report that you can take to your board or your executive to endorse and facilitate your AI adoption in your organisation. So we can really sit down with you and understand each of those elements to then give you that clear roadmap or that path to your AI adoption journey. Now, in that, we may identify a discrete problem that AI can solve, or you may be sitting here going, oh, I've just had this light bulb moment, and this is where I can bring AI into my organization. This is where the AI solution scoping assessment is fantastic for this. So we will take your problem, and what we'll do is we'll conduct a feasibility assessment where we will go through the technology considerations, the infrastructure considerations, each of those pieces to understand the solution feasibility. And then we'll also do an ethics feasibility of the AI solution against the voluntary AI standards. So we understand what are those mitigation strategies that need to be put in place to ensure that AI is used in the way it's intended, and we aren't getting presented with any sort of bias or risk that AI can present. So this can be really helpful in getting a clear scope of the solution. And if the solution is ready to go, we can help you pilot that solution with our university students and trusted partners in building onto that. So with that in mind, there's lots of opportunities there. And you have the link in the chat. You're most welcome to come in, join, submit an inquiry with us, and we can sit down with you and talk more about your organisation's AI adoption journey and go into that into more detail. I'm going to now open the floor for any questions. There was no questions in the chat. But we're happy to take any questions.
We did just have one question that popped up. Sophie asked me about if the learning journey tools are free.
Yes, so this is all very kindly free, thanks to different philanthropic and tech partner funding that we have received. So free for staff and your partners to join in this training opportunity. Fantastic. You're most welcome to come off mute if it's easier to chat.
I've just got a question, Sophie, as well. Just in terms of kind of what's next for the learning community and if there's any upcoming sessions, themes, or kind of areas for collaboration that ACFID members should keep an eye out for?
Definitely, definitely. There's some really exciting webinars coming up that your staff and yourselves will get exclusive access to by joining the community. So we have a 6-part Gemini series that is about to launch, as well as a really exciting fundraising with AI usage coming up later in October as well. So there's some really exciting training content there. We also have our own ethics training for staff that's available on there as well. So there's lots of opportunities both for live sessions as well as depending on your staff's availability to do that sort of self-paced training as well.
And just a follow-up question on the advisory sessions that you mentioned. Is there a wait list for that, or?
There isn't, so we will be in touch and we'll generally, depending on calendars, I think that's always what comes into play a little bit. We'll generally meet with you within 2 weeks of your inquiry. If we can, we'll do it in that week of your inquiry, so to get the ball rolling and understand your organisation and how we can best help.
Okay, great.
Yes, Shane, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, it's been a really interesting session. Thank you. Some of those questions were mine. It seems like a really valuable resource and service that you're offering. Yeah, so being able to turn around so quickly is amazing. How are you guys funded, and what's in it for you? Are you guys a not-for-profit as well? Or, yeah.
We are a non-for-profit. What's in it for? I think that's always a really good question, in that being a non-profit ourselves, we are passionate about building AI and technology capability. That's really what our team is funded quite specifically to do. So we're grant funded. We receive funding from philanthropic organisations in Australia and tech partners across the region to be able to do our capability training work that we do. So, and really the incentive for us is building your capability. Info Exchange has a range of products, but they're not necessarily in the AI space. Rather, we work with trusted partners. So if you were at a stage where you needed a quite complex AI solution built, we will put you in touch with trusted partners to help you in that space. Our role is really around digital capability building.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Jarvis?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sophie. It's very wonderful presentation, and it's very good to know that there's so much of resources available for us, especially since we are in a field now, we don't know much and we don't know where to go. So I just have 2 questions. I mean, as an NGO, I mean, a lot of our works and our partners, I mean, all the Australian NGOs are very similar in terms of how we work with the partners, data collection, reporting. So my first question is, do you develop, I mean, did you already develop any tools for NGOs like LWS, where, I mean, we can use the tool? I mean, is there any existing tools that you have already developed? And my second question is that I've started a pilot project with one of our partner in Ethiopia in integrating how we can, how we can work together to use AI in data collection. So Ethiopia will be one of our partner, will be piloting that project. So I was wondering whether I can get any kind of help, we can get any kind of help from you or from Info Exchange in this regard. Thank you.
I'm going to answer your second question, and then I'll answer your first one. So with the second one, definitely, and that's probably where the AI solution scoping comes in that we understand quite in depth about what you're building and how AI comes into play, and thereby doing that scoping, but also supporting in how that can be developed as well. So there's what I'd say is definitely please reach out following this call and let's have a conversation about specifically how we can get involved there.
And just to follow up,
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to pay for that?
Yes.
You have to pay for that
No,
funding?
that's free. That's all under the funding. We're limited by the amount of time, and that's where the grant funding comes in. But we those advisory services are free, so they're all under our funding. To answer your first part of the question, it really depends on what we're doing. We being a non-profit ourselves, we are always very cautious when it comes to having to pay for new tools. So we're not necessarily, part of our positioning is not necessarily about, okay, you need to go buy this new tool or anything like that. What we generally do is we look at what infrastructure you already have as an organization, and then if you do need to invest, exploring and getting that justification there as well. So for example, if you're in Microsoft or Google, for example, will lean a little bit more into the platform you're in and leveraging the tools within that before, or depending if you've got other CRMs, etc., before we start going into that sort of development space. So I'm not exactly answering your question, but it's more around our approach to that style of question, if that makes sense.
So sorry, Sophie. I think that might have to be the last question, just running out of time. But thank you so much for that. That was incredibly informative and a really great resource kind of to have for our sector. I'll definitely make sure to share all the relevant links via email with everyone who has registered. So thank you, Sophie. Sorry, just sharing my screen again. Now just for some quick updates from ACFID on some upcoming opportunities and events that are happening. So first up, I'll just hand over to Anne, who is ACFID's Learning and Impact Lead, to talk us through an upcoming training opportunity. So thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Aditri, and thanks, Sophie. Another training opportunity we have that's come up through the support of Plan International Australia. They've also got some support from a philanthropic network to provide training for staff in Australia working in the not-for-profit space, which we are then using. We've had a number of ACFID members take part in a training of the trainer, and we're now looking to roll it out for staff of ACFID members late this year and early next year. It's probably, if in terms of those personas, if you're an experimenter or a skeptic, it's for you. It's really basics around AI. There's a module on what is AI, another session on risks and realities, session on platforms and prompts, and some looking at agents as well. We'll be looking to have a number of sessions. We've got an expression of interest form that we encourage you to use and circulate with your colleagues. Once we've gauged how many people are interested in doing it, and it's open to your staff, volunteers, board members, anyone sort of within your own personnel to engage with, then we'll look at setting up a number of sessions that you can pick a time to do these 4 modules over the coming months into sort of early next year. We will also have accompanying facilitation resources. So if there's something that you'd like to use with your partners, you'll also be able to access the same resources and facilitation guides, so you can sort of use this same training. So yeah, please do share around this expression of interest form so we get an idea about who would be interested in participating. We're really hoping to reach lots of our members and staff. It's a bit more based at the individual level as opposed to organizational, but just knowing there's that real need for people to get some foundational skills in AI. And that form also has my email address if you have any questions that you'd like to follow up on. Thanks, Lee.
Perfect. Thank you, Anne. Oops. So next, I just wanted to highlight an exciting plenary session on AI happening at the ACFID National Conference on the 6th of November. So the session will feature some incredible speakers. We have Arathi Krishnan, Professor Angie Abdillah, David Spriggs from Info Exchange, and also the session will be chaired by Suzanne Legina. So this panel will kind of explore the disruptive potential of AI in international development and humanitarian work, and it will aim to ask questions like, what impacts is AI likely to have on our sector? Is it all hype, or are we on the cusp of a fundamental shift? And kind of in particular, the session will critically examine the role of AI in reshaping development and humanitarian practices. It will look into ethical, equity, and governance implications of AI, some practical steps the sector can take to prepare for AI-driven change, and also look at opportunities for kind of cross-sector dialogue among policymakers, practitioners, funders, and technologists. So, Anne, if you could just drop the registration link in the chat, that would be amazing. We've got registrations are kind of open for a few more weeks, so please do sign up if you haven't already. Next is just a quick note to share that ACFID recently hosted a CEO summit, and kind of one of the key outcomes of that, alongside what we're hearing more broadly, is kind of a growing interest among our member organizations' leaders in exploring the role of AI and options for engaging more strategically at a leadership level. So ACFID is planning to convene some opportunities post-conference, kind of aimed at supporting CEOs and senior leaders. But these plans are still taking shape. So we'll share more about this over the coming months. So please keep an eye out for that. Lastly, so we're kind of encouraging all ACFID communities of practice to consider how AI is intersecting with their work. So some COPs like the Mel COP and also our locally led action COP have already started exploring this space through sessions and great speakers, which is really great to see. So if you're part of any communities of practice, we encourage you to think about how AI might be relevant to the issues your group is focusing on. And if you have any ideas for speakers, case studies, or topics you'd like to explore, please do reach out to your conveners. We're keen to kind of support more conversations across the membership. The Data Governance COP in particular has also been active in this space, looking at AI on an organizational level as part of kind of the group's broader conversations on ethical, effective, and compliant data management across the sector. So I'm not sure if they're on the call, but the COP conveners are Matt from Child Fund and also Joseph and Caitlin from World Vision, who've been helping to lead some of these important conversations. And so kind of given the importance of this topic, we have decided to launch a new AI discussion group, which will sit as a subgroup within the Data Governance COP. So this group will kind of be a space to share AI adoptions, successes and challenges, for members to exchange resources and to support each other kind of on our organization's AI journeys. So Caitlin, who is the current convener of the Data Governance COP, has also very kindly offered to help chair this group. So Caitlin, if you're on the call, I might hand over to you just to share a few words on this group and what we're looking for in the first session.
Yep. Yeah, hello everyone. So in the first session, we're really looking at just a little bit probably that leads in from what we were talking about today, which is where everybody's at on implementing AI into their organization. And it's aimed at being less formal than a normal COP, so more of a discussion group, so we can sort of lead it where it takes us and where it would be most useful, talking about our challenges and our successes as well. Yeah, and hoping just to meet everybody who comes along wherever they're at. So I know, you know, at the moment I'm post policy, but once you've got the policy, then you have to make the policy work. So that's a whole other stage. I think in some ways it's easier to get the policy up. So wherever you're at, we'd love to hear how you're going, and the aim is to work collaboratively and learn from each other, so we're not all just trying to reinvent the wheel over and over.
Thank you so much for that, Caitlin. Just some additional logistics to be aware of with this group is that to be a part of the AI discussion group, you'll need to be a member of the Data Governance COP. And then within that, there'll be kind of dedicated meetings focused on AI, which you can opt in for. These meetings are planning to occur bi-monthly, alternating with the regular Data Governance COP meetings. The first one is set for the 22nd of October. And yes, as Caitlin's mentioned, we'll look to kind of explore where organizations currently stand in their AI journey. And Anne will also just share a link to a PDF with step-by-step instructions on how you can join the discussion group. So that brings us to the end. So thank you all so much for joining today's webinar. It's been great to hear from Info Exchange, to share updates from ACFID and kind of introduce some exciting new opportunities for collaboration and learning on this topic. So we'll be sending out slides and links mentioned today to everyone who has registered. So keep an eye out on your inbox for that. And additionally, if you've got any kind of follow-up questions, ideas, or would like to get involved in any of the initiatives mentioned, please don't hesitate to reach out at any point. So thanks again for your time and contributions, and look forward to continuing conversations around AI.